Who even cares about a general overview? We all know what this week is about. Freedom. The vote for the 13th Amendment, the end of slavery, the culmination of centuries of hard work to ensure that all men are recognized for who they are.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
As the representatives enter the House, no one knows what the end vote will be. They are viewed by the free men of D.C. and the executive branch from the balcony. Anxiously, Republican political leaders from the balconies calculate and recalculate the votes needed as each representative speaks and begins to vote. 8 abstentions lowered the required total from 122 votes to 117, with 56 against and 119 for. The amendment is sent to the states for ratification. The observers explode with enthusiasm watching the culmination of that hard work come to fruition. Lincoln signs the amendment the next day, though this isn't needed. In the spirit of liberty, John Rock becomes the first African-American lawyer admitted to argue before the Supreme Court. Illinois ratifies the 13th. Theda Stephen walks out of the hollowed halls with the whip of his cane. He walks back home to his African-American housekeeper, who he is probably in a relationship with. Though he will fight the executive on Reconstruction, this great occasion does bring him patriotic pride in the president. The greatest measure of the 19th century was passed by corruption, aided and abetted by the purest man in America. Said corruption being the promising of appointments to powerful positions to secure votes, and a well-kept lie about Confederate commissioners of peace. At Hampton Roads, President Lincoln and William H. Seward met with Vice President Alexander H. Stephens, Senator Robert Hunter, and Assistant Secretary John Campbell. The entire meeting lasts 4 hours, 5 hours too long if you ask me. It begins warmly with Stephens and Lincoln reminiscing on good times before terms are discussed. Lincoln is willing to compensate the Southern slave owners as long as they lay down arms and rejoin the Union. The Confederate commissioners can't agree to end slavery. They can't even agree on the issue of independence. The war will continue. Heck, it even slowed during the build-up to negotiations.
Let nothing which is transpiring change, hinder, or delay your military movements or plans.
On the topic of Grant, he has left Petersburg for Wilmington, North Carolina, conferring with Admiral Porter about a future assault on the 100th final port of the Republic. About a future assault on the 100th final port of rebellion, Grant is trying to coordinate the naval power of Porter with the incoming land forces. Which reminds me, Grant only commands the Army. Not even Stanton, the Secretary of War, commands the Sea Force. Gideon Welles does. The first combined leader of the military is the President. That's incredible. By the end of the week, Major General John Schofield and his Army of the Ohio have arrived. They will be the main force to take Wilmington. Confederate cabinet changes. President Jefferson Davis accepts the removal of Secretary of War James Seddon, succumbing to political pressure from Congress, local government, the military, the cabinet, everyone. To understand how much he is hated, the advisors of Davis are picked to ensure cooperation from the states they come from. Seddon was a former representative of Virginia before the war. A Virginia delegation called for his removal, who was succeeded by John C. Breckinridge. While Seddon was incompetent in his leadership of the war, a permanent drain of commissary resources, he was around for a long time. He now leaves the public eye to his plantation. Looking to my home state of Missouri, John Pope, the failure of Second Bull Run, takes over the newly created Military Division of Missouri, bringing together Kansas and Missouri, as the Founding Fathers intended. Ending this week with battle. Sherman's South Carolina campaign meets its first bit of resistance at the Salkehatchie River. The 17th Corps sends forward its 1st Division under the experienced Joseph A. Mower. Failing to find a crossing at the lower branch, they move upstream to Rivers Bridge, defended by Confederate Colonel George Harrison. Not to be confused with that other Harrison, his father. Rebels are dug in, and the swampy area forces a narrow advance. Mower is repulsed. Third, Mower crosses over down the river and flanks Harrison, breaking the Confederate companies. Battle ends with the rebel retreat and 100 losses on both sides. This allows for the cutting of the South Carolina Railroad and the continuation of the march now heading towards Columbia. Sigel's time. He continues to confer with Panamanian politicians, becoming increasingly aware that nothing can be done without a decision from Bogota. That's where the week ends. and it's possibly the greatest week in this nation's history since the first week of July in 1776. By February 3rd, 7 states have signed on: Illinois, Rhode Island, Michigan, Maryland, New York, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. 20 more states are needed, but it will happen. The Emancipation Proclamation was a great step towards freedom. As the war comes to a close, its continuation is a constitutional question, so it was a wartime measure. But amendment, that's permanent. That's an evolution of the cornerstone of this country. This goes beyond Lincoln, goes beyond any collection of founding fathers or important leaders. This goes to the fabric of this nation. Let's end this week with that beautiful text. Section 1. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States, or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Section 2. Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Hi, it's Jonathan Teagan, the entire Civil War Week by Week team. I'd like to thank you as we enter the new year and as the last couple months come counting down. It means a lot, and I know we are all excited to see how this war ends. I hope you come along for the journey, and I hope to really see you next week.